Hey, JP Alexander here for Devour Dogs Unleashed, and today is Monday, February 21st, 2022. Today I'm going to do a review of a documentary on HBO Max called Class Action Park. This documentary is about Action Park, and everybody knows what that is. I'll tell you what it is quickly. It's an amusement park, water park, that was opened in Vernon, New Jersey, 1978 to 1996 for 18 years. And it was known as being dangerous, and that's why it was called Class Action Park. Some people used to call it Traction Park. Me and my friends used to call it Accident Park. It's all the same thing, you know. There was accidents, there was a lot of injuries there, a lot of hospital stays, I guess. And this is a review of the documentary as well as my assessment of the park itself. Okay, I'm not wearing a shirt because this is how I used to dress when I used to go to Action Park. I went first time I went was I believe 1985. I was 19. And the last year I went was I believe 1996, the year it closed down. After that, I was about 30. So I went for like 11 years, maybe, and not, every year religiously, a lot. We lived in Long Island. So maybe once, twice a year. We'd miss a year here and there, So I went 20 times, I don't know, 15 times, something like that. So, to get a good feel, I knew most of the rides there, the attractions there, and what they had there. They had the Water World, which was the water park. That was on one side of the highway. I think it was called 93. I'm not sure. They stated in the documentary. And on the other side of the north was the Alpine Slide. I don't know what that Alpine Village or something. Had the Alpine Slide, but they also had the bungee jumping. They had the slingshot, a couple other things. Slingshot was like a bungee thing, and they had like a gladiator show, and they had this thing where it's a fan, and you wear this outfit, and you jump in the middle of it, and you can kind of go up, and then some guy grabs you to make sure you don't go that far up, and you could do flips into the padding on the side. When the fan's in the middle and around they got padding, and you would, when you're in the fan, it would take you up, and then suddenly you go off and do flips into the padding or whatever. Something like that. I don't know what that was called. And the Motor World was on the other side of 93, and it was like some rally cars. No, they had some go-karts, and then if you qualify, you could drive the rally cars, which are faster, and they had the boats over there, and they had a brewery. They had like an Oktoberfest kind of thing, like a beer tent, a brewery there. And they also sold beer in other parts of the park as well. So I'm going to talk about my, assessments of the park. I still to this day don't like amusement parks. I don't like roller coasters and things. You get strapped in and you just, you get drawn around and you scream, and I'm not for that. I'm more for things that I'm in control of. Like, I never like roller coasters. I'm actually afraid of them, kind of. I don't like them. But jumping off a cliff, I'm fine with that. Into water, I'm good with that. I jumped off in Jamaica. I jumped off a 47-foot cliff, something like that. I got no problem with that. And in Action Park, I used to dive off that cliff. I have no problem with. I had no problem like that. But a roller coaster I never liked it because you're like a guinea pig, I felt. So I love the whole concept of Action Park where you control the action. That was the theme of Action Park. Which, Action Park, you got to realize, it was one of the first water parks, so what we know as a water park now, in the East Coast of the United States. So the New York City area used to go there for their water park. That was it. So a lot of what they were doing was new. They had to experiment. They had to bring new things. So whatever the owner, Gene Mulvihill, whatever he came up with was just, it could have hit. A lot of things he came up with could have hit and been big attractions. Could have actually been, wow, this is the future of this. So you got to give the guy credit for trying and maybe having things built that were okay dangerous. Like they talk about the loop. There was this thing you go down and there was a loop inside of it and people were getting hurt. But I saw the loop and it was only open for maybe 3 weeks in 1 year, and they closed it and never opened it again. So it was there really for show. It was there really as a conversation piece. I was looking at that thing. I think it's crazy. And when I went there, people were like, "Oh, it's going to open up again soon." It never did. It never did. That was the most extreme thing. But like I said, it was only open 3 weeks. Too many people got hurt, and they closed it down. So my point is, it wasn't that bad. The documentary's made to kind of hype up how bad it was for people who worked there. But they're probably telling people who worked there, make it out to seem worse than it was. In 18 years, people died. That means one person every 3 years, which, sounds like a lot, but, I was talking to some guy who was talking about an amusement park in Brazil, and he said 6 people died, a year died, So if you take it like that, is it really that bad? And skiing. I used to ski in Vernon Valley where Election Park was, and in the winter it was a ski mountain, a ski resort. So how many people die from skiing every year? So I never really thought of Action Park as that dangerous myself. A lot of it's common sense, for instance, I would dive off the cliff dive. If you jumped, there was no problem. If you tried to do flips and stupid and you land on your back, you didn't know what you're doing, yeah, I could see you getting hurt, okay. But if, again, you have common sense. Me, I know how to dive. So I could dive off of a 15-foot thing rather easily. So I never thought twice about it, There was a Tarzan swing where you swing, but what happens is that you got to hang on to it and you hold on and you got to reach out to grab onto it. And then it swings and the middle part of it's over the water. And then you come up, and the middle part of it's here, but then you come up and you let go at a high point over here. Now, here's the thing you gotta understand. The lowest part, where it's close to the water, if you don't lift your legs up, your legs are gonna hit the water and you're gonna go face plant into the water. So if you lift your legs up and you go as high as point, you could let go. But if you let go and you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna belly flop or whatever. Now, I knew how to dive. I was a good diver. I grew up doing flips in my pool, doing flips into a dive in my pool, doing backflips in my pool. So, I kind of knew what I was doing in that regard. So I got the Tarzan side, and I used to, and one time I knew it was great. I swung, I lifted my legs up, I got over the water, and when I was at its highest point, I let go. I turned around and I went into a dive. Now, there was always people watching. Like there was always a line to get on this thing, so people were watching. So it was like there could be like 70 people watching, and if you did something like I did, you got claps, But a lot of times, what I remember, there's one woman. She just went right. She just went right. She couldn't lift the legs up. She hit the water and she face planted. And we're like, "Ooh, boo, boo, you suck, boo." It was a lot of that. Now the documentary likes to say how people's tops fell off. I never saw that. Like they bring up the most extreme things when they, like they talked about the loop slide. Oh, people's teeth would be. How long was it open? 3 weeks? Again, most of us didn't see that. And they were talking about these tanks that used to fight with tennis balls, and this one person found a gas can and lit the balls on fire. Again, most of us never saw that. They're talking about the Alpine slide and somebody who drove the slide off to hit somebody. I never saw that. And most people never saw that. I had been there, like I said, about 10 to 20 times. I never got hurt. I never was with anybody who got a guy once on the most dangerous ride. And they say in the documentary also the Alpine slide, he got a rash because his arm hit the concrete when he was going down, and he put his arm out and he had a big rash on his arm. That's the most hurt anybody got that I was with. They said there were a lot of teenage kids, and it's true. A lot of teenage kids were watching the place. There was very little adult supervision, which probably why a lot of us kids liked it. Now, I want to give my point about the park. I started going there when I was 19. When I was young, my parents didn't bring us there. Like my parents didn't go. Let's go to. My parents went to people who were going to go to a water park and hang out while us kids no. So we never saw it when we were really young, like kids. We only went when we could drive and we got a license. Someone said, "Hey, let's go to Action Park. I got a license." That was the first time I went there was like 1985. Like I said, when I was old enough and me and my friends jumped in a car and one of my friends was 20 or something. He was going to drive and we put all of us into this station wagon or whatever it was. And we all went there and went, a whole bunch of us just had a good time and party. So I was a little older when I went. I was already out of high school. So, and I went through my 20s until I was 30. So I was, in pretty good shape at that point in my life. I was mental shape too. I was not an idiot kid. I swam really well coming from Long Island. And so a lot of it, again, common sense, You don't get that drunk when it's, maybe later in the day when you only got a few things to do left, like a few water rides left, you could start to drink some beers. And I know once we were coming back in a van, we had a van. One of my friends had a van from work or something. We bring a keg of beer in there, and on the way home, we were drinking the beer. But on the way there, we weren't getting drunk. We weren't like that stupid getting drunk before we went to again, common sense. What this park was, it was in northern New Jersey. So New York City, this was the park for New York City. So New York City, you have a lot of kids who might not swim. They might not know how to swim. Their parents go there with them. Let's say an 8-year-old kid, a 10-year-old kid doesn't know how to swim. The parents go there, and the parents are lying down by the wave pool. There was the lounge chairs by the wave pool. The parents would hang out there and drink alcohol and say to the kids, "Go have fun." And the kids are jumping in the wave pool, which was called the grave pool. And I could see these kids drowning. Oh, sure. I was a good swimmer, and I didn't go in a wave pool because it was boring. You're just in the pool. Wow, and the waves come. Big deal. I never found that exciting. But I went there a couple times, and I didn't like it because people were on top of each other. Like, people were trying to get the waves, and there was no one stopped you and said, "You can't go in, it's too crowded." They just let you go in. Like, okay, go in. And they didn't say, "Oh, do you swim?" And you could go in without knowing how to swim. So that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. And stupid kids don't know how to swim in a way, and kids coming down off of a slide into 17 feet of water, that's, that's probably not a good combination right there. And, things like that. And the Alpine slide, which if you push it down, it'll go faster. If you pull it up, you hit the brake. Now, this thing was like, it had like, there was pieces of concrete separated by, they were put together. So you always had like a lip, and it was like boom, 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 boom. That's what it would do. It would go over that lip. Now, you would give it gas, or you'd put your, the more you put down, the more the wheel comes part of the thing. It slide, but the more you put down, the more the wheel does. It's hard to explain. When you pull up the wheel actually, the wheel, So when you pull up the wheel, it's going to be sliding on the fiberglass, so it's going to slow down. But there would be turns and it would say slow, so you'd pull the brake a little bit and slow down. And it's common sense, really. It wasn't. I mean, my thing was, you want to get around those turns pretty safely, kind of like a bobsled. Now, of course, it was more dangerous. Well, not more dangerous than a bobsled. No, of course not. But like, you let kids do what they're gonna do. But the problem is sometimes you had kids in front of you who were going really slow, and you were right on their asses, which was probably safe. And other kids you had going fast in back of you. That was the biggest thing. Other than that, I never flew off, and I never saw anybody fly off. You got to be a complete fucking idiot to fly off. Like, again, going way too fast, just doing some stupid shit. And again, bringing up the New York City part. Yeah, you had all these Goombas, these fucking dumb guineas from New York. Yo, what the fuck? These big mouth idiots hanging out in the pool, probably don't know how to swim too well. They're doing crazy shit. They're drinking too much. Yeah, a lot of that's a recipe for disaster. Now, I don't act like I'm holier than thou, but again, common sense comes into there. And when I have no problem with me controlling the action. If you're responsible, there's no problem. It's like driving a car. If you're responsible, you're going to get in a few accidents. If you're not, you're not going to get. You're going to be a safe driver and not get in a few accidents. If you're an idiot, you're going to get in some accidents. So, to me, the only problem I had with the documentary was, I think a lot of people are just saying the war stories to hype it up to make it seem like it's so dangerous to sell a documentary. Okay. You imagine if this Gene Mulvihill had come up with these things and some of them really just took off and became big. And he got investors and they made an action park in another state. And another state. Next thing you know, there's action parks from coast to coast. And action park becomes the go-to place. He'd be called a revolutionary, a genius, a visionary. Now he's called, a complete crackpot. I think he was trying to do what he was trying to do. He was trying to, okay. But here they kind of paint him bad, but they paint him a little, the kids seem to like him, but I think he was just trying to create something, be innovative, and he might have to, cross the line of what's acceptable, let's say. And yeah, well, when this documentary started to get into the deaths there at the park, yeah, what happened was Gene Mulvihill didn't call up the families or apologize or anything. He just kind of let it go. And for that, yeah, that's bad. And you feel bad because there was this one story about this kid. He was going to Action Park, and he said to his mother, okay, bye. And he went, and he fell off the Alpine slide, hit his head, and he was brain damaged. And in the hospital, he was in a coma for a couple of days and died. And yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. So when you get like that, you start to feel the really wrath of this place, like what it could do. And a lot of people were in, Traction Park and Traction, I was going to say. But yeah, through the years. But like I said, I had been going there, and I had been there a bunch of times, and I never saw anything that bad. And I just heard about stories, but but again, I mean, I went there on weekends when it was jam-packed. And I went there during the week when it was a lot calmer, which I think was the time to go during the week. And again, if you know what you're doing, like you could, dive, you know how to swim, you were a strong swimmer, you know how to drive pretty well, you weren't driving around like a complete maniac on it, and you kept it within a reasonable speed, like you weren't going to fly off the track. You didn't drink to excess during the day when you were on these rides. Yeah, you can have a great time. If you were acting like a complete moron, yeah, you're probably going to get hurt. And a lot of it had to do with a lot of it. The people on the documentary, a lot of them they worked there and lived near a park. A lot of people they got a lot of people who lived in that area, a regular a regular client there. But if you go there a lot, if you go in there every weekend, if you went there 2-3 times a week every summer since the place was open, yeah, you're probably going to get hurt because, there's a lot of chances to get hurt. And if you got good on something, saying, the last time I was here, I did a flip. I'm going to do this time. I'm going to try to do this. Or when I do this ride, I'm going to do this instead of doing, So, yeah. And you try to push the carts because I'm a pro on the golf, on the rally cars. I did this time. I'm going to try to beat that time. So, yeah, when you do things like that, you're probably pushing the envelope a little bit. And if you go there a lot, I could see that happening. I lived in Long Island, so we didn't go there every weekend. We went there, like I said, twice a summer, maybe. So, yeah, every time we go, it's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do this. So if you skip a year and you go, you're glad you're going again, but you're not pushing the envelope on anything. You're just trying to, again, be reacquainted with the attractions they had, And there was a brewery. I never hung around the brewery, and I was a beer drinker. I was too busy having fun, We would normally go on the cars in the morning, and we'd save the afternoon for the water park because we didn't want to get wet and have to go on the rally cars then with our bathing suits on. So, we would do the water park like last. But, I mean, even the bungee jump was a pretty safe bungee jump. There was it was four. You walk up there and there's four uh, long tunnel like metal things you go through, and it was like these metal hanging bridges that you go on, and you go on it, and they buckle you up here by you by over here. The buckle was over here. It wasn't on your feet. You weren't diving off. You were just stepping backwards off, and it was maybe 60 feet, 70 feet. I don't know. And there was padding underneath. So even if the thing did snap, you were falling into padding, like a stuntman jumps from a 200-foot building into this thing. It wasn't quite that big, but it was still pretty big. Where it would cushion your fall, and you probably wouldn't do much damage. You wouldn't get killed, is what I'm saying. I don't think anybody got killed doing the bungee. It was a safe bungee, and you just hang on, and so it was a pretty safe bungee. So considering things like that, and again, when you control the action, yeah, if you're being an idiot, you're gonna totally, risk major pain and major suffering and major injuries if you're doing that. If you're not, chances are it's going to be okay. So and I've seen a lot of videos on the internet about this too, even before this documentary is from 2019, I believe. So before that, I even saw I've just been seeing things about it for years, people talking about how crazy it was. And this has normally come from people who had never been there. They just heard about it. This is actually a lot of people who work there and who used to go, but I'm not sure how many of them are being told to make it seem more extreme than it was. Again, I'm going to have to say that if you had common sense and you were in well enough shape and you didn't get drunk, you'd be okay. If you were a kid whose parents brought you there and then they started drinking and they said, go have fun, we don't care, just leave us alone, and they're smoking cigarettes and drinking beer and get drunk over there, and you're in the wave pool and you're 8 years old and you don't know how to swim, that's not going to be good. That's a recipe for disaster. And again, going back to even now, I'm going to say now, I went my daughter a few years back to this area that had, we spent the night in a hotel, and one day we went to, a Saturday we went to, we came back on a Monday. We went on a Saturday, we went to the amusement park, and Sunday we went to the water park, and we came back on Monday. And the Saturday amusement park, you're walking around in shorts, and people got jeans. You could see a 300-pound guy there. You could see an older guy, an older woman. You could see older people walking around, going on a roller coaster, what have you, getting a little drunk. There's a German fest thing going on there. They could be drinking at the Busch Garden or whatever, and then going out and doing some rides. Yeah, that you could see. The next day, you go to the water park, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing 70-year-old guys walking around in their shorts. You're not seeing that because most older people are going to, I don't want to do that. And you're not going to see fat people doing that either. Most of them are like, most of the rides can't take me, and I don't have the kind of physique that I want to walk around in my shorts. Plus, I'm not in the kind of shape where I should be doing that to myself. I know I went only 2 years back to Universal with my daughter, and I was 54 at the time, and I drew myself into a water slide, and I went down, and just the way that my body was going, I came out, and I went in the pool, and again, I'm a good swimmer still to this day, but my body was tweaked, and I was like, oh, my back hurt for like 2 days later, and I'm like, and I said to my daughter, I'm not doing another water slide like that. I'm not. I can't do it. I can't. That I almost. It was a pool. It wasn't a wave pool, but it was a pool where there was a big mountain there, and the waterfall comes down, and you can hang out in the pool. I was like, I'm comfortable hanging out in the pool, honey. I said to my daughter, the pool the lazy river kind of thing. you know, I'm kind of like good with that. You hang on to a donut in the water, or like whatever, and you go down a tube, and you go down this thing. Go, I could deal with that. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, I think when you get to a certain age, so that's probably what you had. If you were in Action Park, and again, you were young, didn't know how to swim, that's not good. If you were older and you shouldn't have been doing these things, that's not good. Or if you get drunk, that's not good. So it's really, they're trying to make water parks now like amusement parks. Like you just get on this thing and you just hold on, and that's it. At the end of it, you get off and yeah, it's safe. They're trying to make it like that. But I think inherently a water park's got to be some kind of work on your part to make sure you don't get hurt. And there was the only thing I got hurt on, going back to Action Park and the injuries. The only way I got hurt on, kind of, was the Rolling Rapids, or the Colorado Rapids. I forget what it's called. It's this big tube, 4-person tube, and you put 4 of you in it, and you go down. And these rapids were not. This was not like something like now they have like something like this size or something, and you within it. You can go up the walls a little bit, but you're not going to go off the walls. This thing was bigger, and sometimes and they'd be like go. And they didn't even have they weren't in touch with people at the bottom saying, okay, somebody in the middle saying, okay, the last person just passed us, you could send the next person. This was just like, go, just make sure you don't hit each other. But when you get in a bottleneck, you're going to hit each other. They're bottleneck with like 4 of these things crashing into each other, going up the rapids, going up the walls of this thing. And some of these things were like going through the bottom. The rapids were like this rock underneath this padding, and it would come through the bottom of the boat. It's like, oh, my leg, it hit my leg, and I'm like, ouch, And I remember at the end of the thing, my friend took me and threw me out, and I came and I face planted on the bottom, and my back went like this, and the thing went over my. So I remember the rest of the day, my back was hurting me, and I'm like, that, I remember that. But again, I was young. I could flex in pretty good positions then and just come back. Now I probably break my back, or I pull a muscle. The ambulance have to come and they say, what are you doing on this ride? You're 56 fucking years old. Again, I don't belong on these rides anymore, but, so I had no problem with Action Park. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think all kids should have something like that, where you control the action. Go-karts. We have go-karts now. This is it. So, again, this could have been something that became big, but I guess the injuries piled up and the lawsuits came, and Jim Overhill couldn't lie his way out of it too much, I guess, anymore. But I think they're too hard on him. He was trying to do things, trying to make something new. And I kind of like the fact that he respected the kids enough to do their own thing and not have something so constrained. Like, again, to this day, I still don't like amusement parks. I'd rather go to a water park. But, going back to my age again, I don't go to water parks now because I'm too old. So I don't think I probably will go to a water park again, even though, again, I'm too old. But I don't like amusement parks. So what do you do, But for kids, like us, 21, whatever we were, 2019 when I first went, in my 20s, yeah, you were driving go-karts and you were doing water rides and you were doing alpine slide, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we drive there and we come back with a keg of beer in the van. Like, we'd sit there just drinking, and it was a party. And you meet people there, you're joking around. Sometimes you get beer when you're going on a ride, and again, never overdid it. But you're leaving people to their own devices, I guess, and sometimes that's not smart. So I think that's where, But I don't think any of the rides were too ridiculous. Even the most ridiculous ride, like I said, was open for 3 days. And then, or 3 weeks or whatever, it was open for. I never was there when it was open. It was just there for show, more or less. He never moved it. Maybe it was there to scare people, you know. But I never found anything that crazy. Like, oh my God, we're gonna, die. Yeah, yeah. If you're going full speed down the Alpine slide, you could fly off. Yeah, that's stupid. But the Alpine slide, the concept is not that dumb. The wave pool, the concept is not that dumb. Maybe they had the waves too high. And again, you don't know how to swim. That's just stupid going in there at all. The cars probably went a little too fast at times if you put the tennis ball in the governors or something. But again, if you're going that fast around a turn, 45, 50 miles an hour, you're an idiot. So that's all I have to say about Action Park. And to me, I loved it. I had a great childhood going there. Not childhood. I was, 19 when I first went. But my 20s, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun going there, and a lot of fun with my friends. And again, I never saw anybody get hurt. I only had a blast when I was there. But the documentary is good, bringing back a lot of old times, a lot of films of it. I'm like, I remember that. I remember that area. And then in the winters, I used to ski there, even though the skiing wasn't great there. When it closed down and it opened up a couple years later, Mountain Creek. It was a Mountain Creek skiing and Mountain Creek water park, probably around '98. But the water park was lamer. It wasn't. I never went to the water park in '98. I went skiing though. I think in '97, '98 when it reopened and had a gondola, and the skiing was a lot better. When I was younger, the skiing was crap, But when I got older, when it shut in Mountain Creek, I think I had new owners, and the skiing was really a lot better. So, again, I just had good times there, And you can get just as hurt skiing as you could from any of the rides at this place, So, again, I saw more ambulances probably at ski resorts in my life than I have at Action Park all the times I went there. So, don't believe all the hype about how scary this place was. Oh, it's like people who have never been there, or people who have been there like to say, well, I was a stud. I survived it. I don't consider my stud. None of us, maybe we were just dumb, but we never thought it was dangerous when we did it. We just thought this is a water park. This is what a park is supposed to be. This is Action Park. This is like, hopefully there'll be Action Parks coast to coast, where you control the action, and there's nothing wrong with it. So we just thought it was common. That's how we grew up. That was my first water park. That was my first go-kart experience. That's my first bungee was happening there. So to me, I was all good. So hope you like how I dressed for this this video. That's how I walked around. We just walked around in our shorts like this. And yeah, you're walking around and like, let's go and that, maybe with a beer in your hand or something. Yeah, let me draw on a shirt and flip flops to go on the Alpine slide of the rally cars. Again, great time, no problem, no issues. I did enjoy the documentary, but I think it's a lot of hype and a lot of, oh my God, it was dangerous. Oh, accident. Oh my God, I survived it. Big deal. Not a rite of passage, just a good time when you're younger in the New York City area. About, I think, an hour outside New York City. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Watch the documentary because I think it's entertaining. But don't take a lot of it too seriously because it seriously wasn't that crazy, It was kind of, some of it sometimes was kind of boring, Believe it or not, just hanging out in the pool, going in the water park, I'm not in the mood. Let's go home. I'm not feeling it this time. These things happen too, so it wasn't always crazy at Action Park. So with that said, that's all I got to say on that. This has been JP Alexander for the Rubber Dogs Unleashed. And until next time, ciao. Let me shut